Good morning, everyone. At the outset, I am thankful to Scientific Chair Dr. Vasant Kumar, Organizing Committee Chair Dr. Bansi, and Dr. Sanjay Agarwal for this opportunity. Task assigned to me is to discuss about time in range, its clinical implications, and whether there is a role of generation to basal insulins in getting close to time in range. So my talk will be first to discuss the concept of time in range and its clinical implication, then to review the global recommendations on time in range, what are currently available, and then to address time in range, whether it is possible with basal insulin therapy and whether using a generation 2 basal insulin analog will help getting more patients into time in range. There has been a lot of change in our understanding about pathophysiology of type 2 diabetes is concerned, and so has our approach absolutely changed as far as management of type 2 diabetes is concerned. So we have come a long way from earlier days when we were talking only of a glycemic target or the glycemic triad to a glycemic hexad. Earlier days, we were talking only getting fasting and post-prandial sugar within the range and an HbA1c close to 7 or less than 7. But now the approach has absolutely changed. So it's a paradigm shift in our approach towards management of type 1 and type 2 diabetes, where we are talking about glycemic hexad. Not only we are concerned about a good control of fasting, a postprandial, but also HbA1c. But most important thing is we are addressing two issue of glycemic variability. We shouldn't have episodes of nocturnal or daytime hypoglycemia, and it has to be a very, very smooth glycemic control. Let's see what is glycemic variability. Glycemic variability refers to the fluctuations in blood glucose levels, both peaks and troughs. So it is either a within day, which is intraday, or day to day, that is interday variation, which contributes towards glycemic variability. Because any amount of glycemic variability leads to high oxidative stress. It also leads to increased risk of severe recurrent hypoglycemia also. So establishing glycemic variability, even if HbA1c is controlled, say close to 7 or less than 7, there also I think glycemic variability remains very, very important because there could be many phases of getting an HbA1c 7 or less than 7. Either it could be at the cost of recurrent hypoglycemia, or most of the time when patient is staying time below time in range, or it could be when patient is most of the time spending in time above range, but again in between there are troughs, so that contributes towards getting H1C close to 7 or maybe less than 7. Ideally 70% of the time patients stay in time in range and should have a smooth glycemic control, getting HbA1c close to 7. So it is very, very important to minimize the amount of glycemic variability. Any amount of HbA1c reduction, maybe close to 6 point or 7, 6.8 or 7, should not be on the cost of excursions or recurrent troughs or hypoglycemia. So today we are talking about time in range. That means most of the patients, those who are having type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, they must spend almost 70% of their time. That means 17 hours out of 24 hours in range. That means in a window of 70 to 180 milligram, where sugar should stay between 70 to 180 milligram. So ideally 70% of the time should spend in time in range, and effort should be there that patient shouldn't have sugars more than 180 milligram. Even if it happens, again, an effort has to be there that time above range, which is level 1 hyperglycemia, getting a sugar between 180 to 250 should be less than 25%, and definitely sugars more than 250 milligrams should be less than 5% out of 24 hours. And when we talk about getting a good glycemic control without getting hypoglycemia, again, aim is to not only reduce glycemic variability, but effort has to be there to reduce hypoglycemia less than 70 milligram up to 54 or 55 milligram to less than 4%. And every effort should be there so as to reduce the risk of level 2 hypoglycemia or severe hypoglycemia, which is blood glucose less than 54 milligram. So let's see why we are so concerned about time in range, why we are having so much emphasis on time in range. Because even if 10% of the time patient is not in time in range, that means time in range is deranged only by 10%. That will increase retinopathy risk by 64%. It will also worsen nephropathy by almost 40%, and it will also increase the risk of neuropathy by 25%. And a lot of evidences have shown that there could be surrogate markers of macrovascular complication like abnormal carotid intima media thickness, which might increase if time in range goes out by at least 10%. So let's talk about guidelines or the current recommendations which are now available globally on time in range. And again, now focus is that it is time for change. It is time to be in range or time in range. Unfortunately, till recently, there has been lack of clear and agreed upon glycemic targets. Although 2012, for the first time, Helmsley Charitable Trust first expert panel talked about target range. It was defined, but 2017, in a systematic approaches to CGM data evaluation, there was still no unified recommendations. 2019, for the first time, ATTD, International Consensus on Time in Range, was drafted. 2019, for the first time, ADA in its supplement talked about that CGM increases treatment satisfaction and increases time in range. 2020 ACE for the first time said that CGM could assist in reaching glycemic goals very, very safely. And 2020 AD also again advocated the use of CGM in various patient profiles. And it is 2021 for the first time when ADA said that CGM could be an important tool for hypoglycemia prevention if it is used in clinical practice. So 2019 ATTD has been actually a very, very important consensus and recommendation on time in range for different diabetes population. So when we are talking about most of the patient, those who are having type 1 and type 2 diabetes, I told you ideally they should stay in time in range, which is 70 to 180 milligram for more than 70% of time. Ideally, sugars more than 180 milligram to 250 milligram should not happen. Even if it happens, it should not be seen for more than 25%. And every effort has to be again there so as to reduce sugars more than 250 milligram to less than 5%. But most important thing is that it should not happen on the cost of recurrent hypoglycemia. So time spent below range, which is sugar less than 70 milligram, has to be less than 4%. And time spent below level 2 hypoglycemia, which is less than 54 milligram percent, has to be seen in less than 1% of patient. But for older patient, those patients who are at a greater risk of hypoglycemia, may it be type 1 or type 2 diabetes patient, there we are little bit relaxed in terms of giving time in range. So at least 50% of the time, these patients again should stay in time in range. But sugars more than 180 to 250 milligram may be still permissible for less than 50% of time if these patients are very elderly or they are at a greater risk for developing hypoglycemia. But most important thing is their sugars should not go less than 70 milligram, and that level 1 hypoglycemia also in these patients should be discouraged to be less than 1%. But pregnancy in type 1 diabetes patient, obviously goals are much more stringent. We are talking about target range of 63 to 140 milligram, which should be seen at least 70% of the time, and sugars more than 140 milligram should be seen in less than 25% time. So most of the time, ideally patient should stay in the target range of 63 to 140 milligram so as to have good neonatal and fetal outcomes. And of course, hypoglycemia has to be prevented at every cost to less than 4% as far as level 1 hypoglycemia, or less than 1% when we talk about level 2 hypoglycemia. But pregnancy in type 2 diabetes or gestational diabetes, again time in target range remains the same, that is 63 to 140 milligram, and most of the time patient should stay in this target range of 63 to 140 milligram. As I told you, after ATTD 2019, ADA 2019, 20 and 21 again highlighted the importance of time in range. Only weeks before ADA 20 recommendation, there was a supplement of ADA 19 which was published, and it again recommended that CGM could increase treatment satisfaction and could increase time in range. And ADA 2021 for the first time advocated that CGM is an important tool for hypoglycemia prevention because this could prevent lot of micro as well as macrovascular complication in the setting of type 1 as well as type 2 diabetes patient. Let's see whether it is possible today to address the issue of time in range, or whether we can get more patient in time in range even with basal insulin therapy. Although there has been a suboptimal clinical utilization of time in range, unfortunately, in clinical practice, in spite of the fact today we know that time in range is a very, very important tool to avert not only microvascular as well as macrovascular complication, but also to have better quality of life. But still, time in range is not being routinely done in clinical practice. So every effort has to be there to use those treatment solutions which could increase at least duration in being time in range, even if we are not frequently monitoring it with AGP or with CGM. So let's see whether with basal insulin it is possible to address the issue of glycemic variability as well as getting patients in time in range. We know whenever we are using a basal insulin analog, it can effectively address the issue of glycemic variability, because not only it is going to reduce fasting sugar, so obviously postprandial excursions are also going to be down. It will also reduce the risk of getting troughs, because nocturnal hypoglycemia or interprandial period hypoglycemia are going to be significantly down. So if we compare glargine versus NPH, which is a conventional basal insulin NPH that we have been using 2 or 3 decades earlier, these days we are using glargine as a standard care. Obviously, the risk of getting hypoglycemia with glargine has been found to be much lesser than with NPH. And when we are using glargine versus premix insulin or even co-formulation also, there also there is going to be a reduced risk of getting interprandial period hypoglycemia also. So let's compare generation 2 basal insulin analogs in the light of time in range. Here is a beautiful euglycemic study which has shown that there could be much lower variability with glargine 300 versus IDEC 100. In this study, they have seen into the daytime variability and glucose insulin release pattern, and it was found that there was a 20% reduction with glargine 300 versus IDEC 100 at a dose of 0.4 units per kg per dose. So those patients who were on glargine 300, they were much better off in terms of getting 20% lesser inter-day or within day glycemic variability. Another important independent new PKPD study, which has again shown, it is a data which has demonstrated lower glycemic variability with glargine 300 versus IDEC 100. Again, in this study, it was seen that there is 22% greater insulin peak with IDEC 100 versus glargine 300 once they were compared in different arms. Not only that, glucose infusion rate to keep these sugars within the euglycemic range. And once this was plotted, it was again seen that there was a 23% lesser variability with glargine 300 versus IDEC 100U, and it was very, very p-value wise significant also. Another study, which is type 2 diabetes CGM study, which has again been carried out to find out the time in range of glargine usage 300 versus IDEC 100. It has been designed to compare the efficacy and safety of glargine 300 and IDEC on glycemic control using continuous glucose monitoring. And there were 30 patients who were randomized in a crossover model, either on glargine 300 or IDEC 100, and CGM for 5 days on each insulin treatment was done, and it was analyzed, and mean percentage of time within the target range, that is 70 to 180, was the efficacy endpoint. Again, in this study, it was seen that time below range was markedly lower for glargine 300 versus IDEC 100. And although overall time in range was almost identical in both the arms, whether those patients were on glargine 300 or IDEC U100, but there was actually time below range was markedly lower for glargine 300 arm as compared to IDEC U100. So all categories of hypoglycemia, whether it was anytime hypoglycemia, nocturnal hypoglycemia, or severe hypoglycemia, you could see was significantly down in glargine 300 arm versus IDEC U100, and this was p-value wise very, very significant. Another type 2 diabetes flash glucose monitoring study, which has been again done to find out time in range of glargine 300 versus IDEC U100. It has been designed to compare the efficacy and safety of glargine 300 and IDEC U100 on glycemic control using flash glucose monitoring. Again, 24 patients, they have been randomized in a crossover model, and they were either 12 patients were on glargine 300 or IDEC U100, and they were again followed in terms of efficacy endpoint. What was mean percentage of time within the target range, that is 70 to 180 milligram. Again, in this study, it was seen that there was significantly lower nocturnal hyperglycemia with Glargine 300 as compared to IDEC. And you could see that percentage of time in nocturnal hyperglycemia with Glargine 300 was much significantly lesser as compared to Glargine, as compared to IDEC 100 in both the, when we compare both the arms. Another real world study, which is OneCare, in adults with type 1 diabetes, those who were using CGM, they were either into Glargine 300 versus IDEC. Again, it was seen these were adults with type 1 diabetes. They were switched from first generation basal insulin analog to either Glargine 300, 104 patients, or to IDEC U100, 95 patients within 24 months. And once they were in a stable glucose range, CGM data was analyzed after maintaining their current treatment once it was stable for more than 3 months. And again, primary endpoint was to define time in range 70 to 180 milligram and a comparison between Glargine 300 versus IDEC. Again, in this study, when you analyze the time in range profile of Glargine 300 versus IDEC 100, you could see that almost both the arms had similar time in range, time above range, or time below range profiles, whether it was Glargine 300 versus IDEC 100. But there were differences which were favoring Glargine 300 for time in range, whether it was 70 to 140 or 70 to 180 milligram range, and time our range, especially during the nocturnal period. So this OneCare study concluded that in the real world setting in adults with type 1 diabetes, the effectiveness and safety of Glargine 300 was similar to IDEC U100 in those switching from first generation basal insulin. However, more people on Glargine 300 remained within the target range at night. That means nocturnal hypos were much lesser. Not only that, during the nocturnal period or the night period, those patients were better in time in range, or they were lesser time above range. So to conclude, carry home is that today glycemic variability and time in range is associated with increased risk of diabetic complication, severe hyperglycemia, and it could improve quality of life. You can get, if you can reduce glycemic variability and get more time in range. So time in range, although it is very important tool, but unfortunately, it is seldom used in clinical practice. So it is important here that we should use treatment options or solution which can increase time in range, even though we are not regularly monitoring time in range in clinical practice in our patients. Second generation basal insulin, they have demonstrated improved glycemic variability than other insulin regimes, whether it was versus premix or whether it was versus conventional basal insulin. But even among second generation basal insulin, Glargine 300 has demonstrated much lesser risk of hypoglycemia p-value wise also versus IDEC U100 during the titration period, as well as it has also demonstrated better time in range profiles. Thank you very much for your patience listening.